Hello, Trail Seekers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Today's a continuation. This is episode 562, which is part B of episode 561. I decided to break it into two episodes because it just gets too long. You know, we had so much to cover and had such great conversations. When it comes to immune health, it's not just one thing. And so when we started talking, we thought we were going to get right into the supplements, and we realized just through our conversations that we needed to make sure we talked about the first most important thing, which is that there's a foundation level nutrition. Definitely food plays a role in immune health, and we covered that in last episode, in episode 561. And we talk about the essential nutrients. So there's over 60 minerals that we're not getting in our food because the soil is anemic. Even if you're not eating packaged foods all the time, most people, and I heard this saying, eating from a vending machine, and I thought the vending machine diet, like that's what I'm going to call the standard American diet right now. Because how many products a day, and maybe not you, because you're a listener of this podcast, but how many products do you give your kids that could fit into a vending machine? You know, how many products did you eat? Just be honest with yourself in this last week. Not that you physically went to a vending machine, but think about the foods we eat, the potato chips, the power bars, the energy drinks. Just think about all the filler in our lives that could essentially be the vending machine diet. And if we're eating that way, we are starving our body of the foundation nutrition. We are also wreaking havoc on our immune system. Even just one little point, glyphosate, which is one chemical found in most foods that are not deemed organic, right, is a known antibiotic. It disrupts the microbiome of your gut. And we talked about the importance of the microbiome and in our foundations conversation in episode 561. So this idea that if you're having immune stuff or you're just sick of getting sick every winter, or maybe you even get sick in the summer. That really sucks when you get like a cold or flu during the summer. You're like, why? It's so beautiful out and I'm stuck with, coughing and sneezing. If you have immune issues, we got to talk about the foundation. So if you haven't, go back and listen to episode 561 and definitely, you can listen to it out of order. You can listen to this episode and then go back to 561. That's fine. But just understand that the body needs, there's 90 essential nutrients the body needs. There's minerals, vitamins, amino acids, fatty acids. Those are the micronutrients. And then we got to make sure we're getting whole food, meaning single ingredient, unadulterated, unprocessed foods is what supports the immune system best. And what supports our microbiome is what supports our immune system as well. And that is fiber-rich whole foods and preferably organic. Not that organic's perfect. There are chemicals sprayed on organic. They're deemed safe. There's I think 2,000 to 3,000 chemicals that are certified as organic chemicals that are deemed safe for organic farming. So, organic isn't like chemical free in that sense, but it's deemed like the safest and certainly safer than what they call conventional, which is to me a very Orwellian concept that we're calling what used to be conventional organic, and what we're calling organic is not conventional. What we're calling conventional is actually unconventional. We should just, you know what? I don't believe in vandalism, but mentally in your mind, I want you to bring a mental Sharpie, and every time you go to the grocery store and you see it says conventional by the produce, just mentally write "un" in front of the conventional in your mind. I'm not saying we should vandalize, but boy, would I like to see someone else do that. Or maybe we'll just make a little Photoshop or an AI video. Unconventional. And that's exactly what those foods are, because what they quote unquote conventional foods, which are not certified organic foods, are covered in chemicals that are harming our immune system and frankly every other system of our body. We just have to remember, and this is a big point we talk about in the last episode, that if you look around, look at the statistics, look at the health of the average person who is 10, 20 years older than you. if you want to be an average, if you want to be like the 1 in 3 that's going to get cancer in their lifetime, the 1 in 3 that's going to get diabetes, metabolic syndrome, all the major health issues, right? If you want to live like that, be tired all the time, be on multiple medications, which I know you don't. That's just the point. The point is we have to choose to do things differently than the average person. And that's why you're listening, because this is what we're doing. So last episode is talking more about the foundations of health. And when you really master, which is actually easy to do step by step, little by little, you can slowly eliminate, I don't mean too slow, but like, within your emotional and mental energy to do so, within your capacity to do so, weed out the things that are harming you and fill your plate with the things that are healing you. So we talk about that in the last episode. I highly recommend going to takeyoursupplements.com, talking to the certified health coach like Jen, who's amazing. Most of the people that reach out to takeyoursupplements.com end up talking to Jen. And she gives you a quiz that is designed by all the research of these amazing naturopathic doctors that have so much research. It's really cool, and it gives you a full health assessment and points you to the direction of what nutrient deficiencies you're suffering from the most, because nutrient deficiencies will present themselves as symptoms. And so like if you're having problems falling asleep and you're having muscle cramps or you're having restless legs, we're like, okay, we're looking at a multi-mineral deficiency. If you're having eczema, if you're having, or if you're having lung problems, or if you're having hormone problems, we're looking at digestion and EFA, essential fatty acid issues. Now, nutrient deficiencies aren't just single things like, oh, you're only deficient in zinc or vitamin C. They always travel in packs. So that's why you want to get on a comprehensive, don't get on single nutrients. It's called fractionated nutrition. It's a very allopathic way of doing things where I'm just going to take high dose this one thing and high dose this other thing. And it throws everything else out of balance because the body really needs to be in balance. And so that's why I love the takeyoursupplements.com method, because it's all the nutrients in the right ratios for your body weight and budget. So I can't say enough good things about them. Definitely check them out. It's worth talking to them. And they're not trained salespeople. I think that's really important, because I always am suspicious when I hear someone say, oh, you should give us a call. We have a free, you can talk to us for free. I'm like, I immediately my alarm bells go off, because I'm thinking, are you going to like trap me like you're selling me timeshare? No, these are health coaches. They are not salespeople. They're really just passionate about helping you. So check them out, talk to them, just give them a call. Go to takeyoursupplements.com, fill out the information, have a chat, and see where it leads you. Plus, there's a money-back guarantee, so it's like, just try it. Just try the program. I recommend trying the program for at least 3 months, but they do have a 30-day money-back guarantee. And every client I've ever had that's done their program has felt noticeable results before the 30 days are up, so they know they want to keep continuing to do it. Most commonly, more energy, more mental clarity, better sleep, better digestion are the 4 things that my clients see in the first month of doing the takeyoursupplements.com program. So yeah, the last episode was part A. Talk a lot about the different foundations that we want to just make sure that you're aware of. And then today we're going to talk specifically about, finally, we're going to talk about the immune supplements, which I have loved. So you're going to have a fun time listening to this. And if you have any questions, please go to takeyoursupplements.com, talk to Jen or any of the other health coaches there, or you can also reach out to me, support@learntruehealth.com. If you ever have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. And thank you for sharing these episodes with those you care about, so we can help as many people as possible to learn true health. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 562. I really want to dive into talking about the immune system, the emergency immune system kit.
Yes,
so I think
ma'am.
What we've covered, which is important, is you've got the foundation stuff, and that's great. And you should go to takeyoursupplements.com and talk to Jen and get on the foundation stuff. And then you've got the emergency kit. So when you wake up with any kind of symptom that makes you think a cold or flu is coming, you jump on this stuff and it blows it out of your system.
That's right. That is, yeah. So one of the things that has come to be so obvious to me is the concept of synergy, particularly when working with immune things. There are certain viruses, certain bacteria, certain things that respond better to one of these things than something else, which is why I have people have 3 to 5 things on hand. I want to talk about my favorite one, which is the kind of the flagship one that I would say if somebody can only get one thing, they would get this, and I call it sort of the supreme elite immune formula, if you will. I just want to talk about some of the things that are in it and what they do in the body. So and this particular one is very good because it fits in with both the immune and the gut support. So number one thing is colostrum, which basically fortify the gut barrier, activate white blood cells. It's what's in the I can't remember if it's the pre stuff that's in mother's milk. Is that right? It's the little
Colostrum.
liquid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's the first few days of
First few
birth.
days of nursing is what.
Mammals make
Yeah.
colostrum, and that is just pure immune. You're just giving an immune system to the infant, or the cow, the calf, or any mammal, right, is going to make colostrum. That's the first milk that comes down is a intense immune system.
As one's
My
nursing.
Yeah, and interesting side note. So I have a friend who has a homestead, and they will go and they have enough room for 2, 3 cows,
Mm.
or, man cow bulls. Sorry, I was like, cow is a female. And so they have a big field, and they, for their family, will raise 1, 2, 3 at a time. They'll slaughter 1 to 2 a year, and they're feeding their family. And they will go and buy from these auctions. So a fairly recently birthed calf, mostly it's bulls that they're buying because it's the cheapest, because the cows are kept as milking cows, right? And when he first started out as a little homestead rancher, every time he brought home a calf, it would die. And he's like, "What's up with this?" Like, it was really disheartening, until he learned that you can buy these newly birthed, boy calves that haven't received any colostrum. They basically were ripped. They were birthed. The cow birthed them, and then they were immediately removed from the mom. And the mom actually cries. It's really sad. The mom actually cries for the calf and tries to run after it, and the rancher just takes it away. And then they go sell it. If they're left with the mom and allowed to suckle, in which case then they receive colostrum, and then are sold, 3 days later. They write a big C on the calf. They charge
Mm.
more.
Yep.
And my friend's husband said they always survive. And he was like, "This is really interesting. The calves that don't receive colostrum, most of them die. But if they're allowed to receive colostrum, they live and they become healthy."
Or yeah, and that's, such a huge argument for nursing our children, right? Breastfeeding
Right.
and
If we
not
can,
using formula, especially in the beginning,
if we can. And
if we can, yeah.
I couldn't produce enough milk, so I found there's about 25 moms over the course of the first 6 months of my kid's life, and I got donated milk. So there's
Exactly.
human milk for human babies. You can look up your local, if you're ever in that situation where you want milk for your child. It's a free service that moms do for other moms, and they coordinate human milk for human babies. Usually Facebook groups, local Facebook groups. I talked to my naturopathic pediatrician, and one of her clients or patients who had recently moved across the country to Boston. I'm in Seattle. She went to Boston. She shipped me frozen, like, she paid for the shipping. She was, like, such a dear, shipped me, like, a month's supply that she had pumped to me. It was such a
Wonderful.
godsend, right? So,
It
yeah, it's
is.
like I had to unfortunately, I did have to, fortify with a formula. So it's like there's times where formula, it's like the baby needs to be fed. If you don't have milk, feed the baby formula. But the first few days of colostrum are the most crucial, because that is inoculating the immune system.
Absolutely. So, according to a nutrient review study done in 2021, it also tends to cut respiratory infections by 20 to 30% and boosts overall immunity. The second ingredient that I absolutely love is a bee propolis. And it
Mm.
is flavonoid-rich resin with antimicrobial punch, kills bacteria, viruses, fungi, calms inflammation. It's a natural antibiotic and tends to reduce cold symptoms by 40%, according to a 2019 antibiotics review, which I thought was very interesting because, there are more and more evidence-based studies that antibiotics are not the only way to skin the cat when it comes to, uh, healing and preventing.
Oh, yeah.
It's had the money market, right? It's been the kingpin. So the next one is cordyceps mushroom, which is an adaptogen that enhances energy, oxygen use, and immune modulation via polysaccharides, improves endurance, fights fatigue related infections. And that was actually done by a pharmacology study, believe it or not. This is my favorite. On turkey tail mushroom, again, all of these are in this, what I'm calling the supreme elite immune formula. I have never met a formula. I've been doing this for a really long time. I have never seen a formula this good. The turkey tail mushroom has beta glucans that stimulate our natural killer cells and gut immunity with anti cancer components. It lowers infection risk by 25%, supports microbiome. And in a 2015 study on immune modulation, they looked at 5 major mushrooms through an integrative oncology study at the Guggenheim, Wright, and Zwickeri in integrative and this was published in the Medical Journal of Integrative Medicine. The kind of quick download, is that turkey tail can crank up natural killer cells and T cells and cytokines for better immunity, especially in cancer patients, and that it boosted 5-year survival in colorectal cases from 60 to 80% when added in with chemotherapy. So, big deal in terms of using mushrooms, these specific types of God-given mushrooms to boost immunity. And then there's 3 more, maitake, reishi, and shiitake in this particular formula, which also have ramping up of T cells and macrophages for pathogen defense specifically. So garlic is another one, and people have known that probably anciently, right? Fights bacteria and viruses, enhances immune performance, reduces the risk of infection. Cayenne concentrate, the capsaicin. I can never do you know how to pronounce that? Capsaicin?
Capsaicin? Capsaicin?
Capsaicin.
I'm
Of
guessing.
course, yes. Improves circulation, right, which we know for boosting cardiovascular health, reduces inflammation, aids digestion, supports heart health, boosts metabolism. So the combination of this, and then olive extract. And olive extract has had some really strong evidence-based clinical evidence reviews by the Cochrane, which is they do a lot of systematic reviews on analysis of different substances. They did another study on T cell function, particularly in cancer patients, and found that olive is one of the strongest things to boost immunity. And of course, it's anti-inflammatory, cuts down on respiratory infection severity. They did this with COVID patients, actually, that were hospitalized, and found that there was a significant uptick in their well-being and recovering when using olive extract. So, and then the last one is beta sitosterol, which is a plant sterol modulator, modulates immunity, as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, promotes immune function, resists bacterial invasion. So they have formulated this particular formulation with all of those substances in one, and then back to this concept of synergy, which is why I believe that, sometimes people can just take 2 of these at night if they're feeling a little scratchy throat and literally wake up, like you said, the next day feeling fine. And that's why I always start with this one, because it's the most comprehensive in terms of,
Mhm.
targeting what you might be coming up against, which I use it for gut stuff. So if people are having a funny, like, oh, I think I might have food poisoning, it will be helpful for even that. So that's one of them that's in the kit. The other one
But
that I
before you go on,
go
I
ahead.
just want to. There's a few things. I haven't been on antibiotics in 10 years because of this supplement. If I like, I pop four. I just that's my dose, and sometimes I have to repeat it. Like most of the time, I don't. I pop four if I feel like a scratchy throat or something, and I almost never get sick. I know I'm saying that I'm like knocking on my sunlight and sauna right now because knock on wood. I almost never get sick, and I feel so grateful because I used to get sick all the time. I used to catch everything, and now I don't. And I just know that's because of how much I've invested in my health. Uh, the the ingredients, you mentioned a few things, and I wanted to say that the colostrum increases your immunoglobulin, and it helps with the gut barrier, helps support gut barrier and mucosal immunity in the gut. And they do you talk about how it reduces 35% reduction in upper respiratory? I think you did. Um, which is so huge. I mean, I know we kind of all have PTSD from the last 5 years, like, to be honest, right?
Right,
And so
for sure.
we just don't want that. Uh, the olive leaf, there was a they did a study with high school students, and they found that it reduced their overall sick days by 28%.
Mhm.
Just olive leaf, not with all these things, just olive leaf itself. Propolis, I looked into a few years ago because this was back closer to like 9 years ago when our son, we had him at a really cool daycare. It was like a few hours a day, and it was like Montessori and really neat. And I just wanted him to have that like experience of all the fun things they did. But of course, he was constantly getting like stuffy noses and little colds, and um, yeah, they gotta get exposed to stuff, right? The immune system has to, like, get exposed, and what I learned is that propolis was used in, studies in daycares, and
Mm.
that it significantly, I don't remember the number now, but it was some crazy number. It significantly reduced, the sick days for all the children. You have to think these kids are very young, so you don't wanna get them on a bunch of, like, you wanna get them on a bunch of stuff, but just propolis alone has been studied in in daycare, level ages. There was a 12-week study with garlic as a supplement with 148 adults, and it reduced the colds from the placebo people got sick 60 the placebo group got sick 65 times, and those taking garlic only got sick 24 times. So I thought that was interesting, just taking it, I guess consistently for 12 weeks. This supplement, however, is your emergency supplement. It's not one that you take all the time, and you take it when you're up against something. And
Right.
I absolutely love those like the turkey tail, maitake, shiitake, reishi, and cordyceps, and those are also in the coffee that you mentioned, in that instant coffee, which to me tastes really good. And so it's like these these are fun to get throughout the day in your life anyway
Yes.
because
I
it's
love
supportive.
consuming the mushrooms on a daily
Mhm.
basis in the adaptogenic coffee. I mean, I can't say enough about it. I don't even touch regular coffee because first of all, it without the adaptogenic mushrooms, again, I am super sensitive to caffeine.
You are.
It
I know
makes me
you.
feel shaky,
Yep.
but I also feel the benefit of it because of mental focus and kind of, obviously being awake,
Mhm.
the reason people use caffeine, but the adaptogenic and immune boosting mushrooms in that coffee. And now they've made a version that has a non-dairy, I don't even know. It's got to be from, what is it? It's
I think
coconut,
it's coconut,
MCT, I think.
MCT and coconut,
Yeah.
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 I just get the straight up. I don't do it all the time, I do it a few times a week, but I notice too, I don't taste just like coffee. It's delicious, it's full of, mushrooms, and I don't notice any of the jittery weirdness or
Right.
crash from, or
Exactly.
that artificial, like, agitated, jittery energy from
Exactly.
coffee. I don't
Exactly.
it feels like a nice medicinal boost. But these mushrooms are high in beta glucans, which help with innate immunity. So it helps
Right.
the immune cells to modulate and to be on the ready for, they become vigilant to help take down whatever they need to take down. But it is proven that in both animal and human studies, it's proven to increase the immune efficiency.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I love that it's in something that I do almost every day with the coffee, but then like you, I don't take the strongest, my superior formula. I don't take that every day by any means. However, when I first start out of somebody that's been really sick or has had like a chronic, I've used it with extreme success with chronic bladder infections or any kind
Mm,
of a chronic infection or chronic low immunity. I will have people take just 2 a day for maybe 1, 2, or 3 months and then as needed. But generally speaking, it is part of the emergency kit that's used only as needed. Whenever somebody's traveling, I always encourage them to have that with them. And then I for travel, I actually do another layer, and that's another layer of digestive support so that people can really, because a lot of times when we're traveling, especially if you're like on a cruise or, international or whatever, you might be eating things you don't usually eat. You might be running into bacteria that your gut here in this state in the nation are not used to, right? And so this one formula that I always have people travel with, in addition to the superior immune boost one, is a comprehensive enzyme, digestive enzyme. You and I went through it in depth in episode 180. This formula is one of the best things I've ever met in terms of preventing gut issues and optimizing the way that people break down and on a daily
hmm.
basis their food. So that's something that I also have a lot of clients work with. That would be an add-on to the foundation, but for people who struggle with slow digestion, a lot of bloating or gas, that might be part of their daily. And then, of course, as for traveling for prevention, really, I have people take that. Or if they're going to eat sushi, for example, if they're going to go out and eat sushi, or things that they might be exposed to more bacteria if they're going to have steak tartare or things like that, or they're trying to be gluten free and be on the diet that I've recommended, but if they don't have control over the holidays, I will also have them do that on a preemptive basis for a short time. And that's kind of part of the emergency kit for people who struggle with gut stuff or if they are going to be traveling. So that's pretty cool.
I had a
And that
client
kind of
once that
so go
was
ahead.
sorry, I had a client once who was on major drugs, like proton pump inhibitor level drugs, and I got her on so people who are on these antacid drugs, right? Because you're like, you start off with like GERD or heartburn, right? And then so the doctor says, you have too much acid. We need to stop the acid. That is literally the opposite. I know most people listening probably know this by now because this is I
We
remember
talk
learning
about it
this
a
in my
lot.
actually, like, early 20s. I was flipping back when I lived in Canada, I was flipping through the channels. I think we had, like, DirecTV, so we had, like, because I was living in the middle of nowhere up in Muskoka, Canada, and I so we had satellite, and I was flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden, it was, like, a daytime talk show with a naturopathic physician. I stopped because I was like, "Wait a second." Like, this is back in the '90s. I'm like, they didn't have, like, naturopaths on TV, and that's why I was like, "Hey, this is pretty cool." And she talked and this was, like, God and his divine timing because for the first time ever, I was experiencing heartburn. This was my early teens where I was eating whatever I wanted because I was, rebelling against my mom's health food. And I started getting heartburn. I started eating the way my boyfriend was eating, and he was eating absolute garbage like Wonder Bread and just Subway sandwiches and just like really bad. So I started getting heartburn, and so I was listening to this naturopath, and everything she said is so. I mean, this is what every naturopath says today. So it's tried and true. You have heartburn because you have too little acid, not too much acid. I'm gonna say it for those who don't know this. If you're on a proton pump inhibitor or some kind of antacid or running to the Tums, you're doing yourself a large injustice. We need a high amount of acid early on in the digestion phase in the stomach so the acid can first of all, it's part of your immune system, right? It's gotta kill the bad, whatever. It's part of the immune system. It's part of the defense system. High acid's gonna hopefully get rid of what you don't want to continue to enter into your body, some kind of, microbe, right, or parasite. So high acid also breaks down the proteins, right? And high acid triggers the lower esophageal sphincter. So a sphincter is like think about your butt, right? You you it's a nice tight it's tight, it closes up the hole so it doesn't let anything come out, right? You don't accidentally poop yourself. And that's a sphincter. Well, we have sphincters inside us as well. and we have one at the base of the esophagus. So the esophagus is a long tube from your mouth to your stomach. And when you swallow, the muscles in the esophagus help lower the food into the stomach. And then that lower esophageal sphincter opens up, allows the food to enter, and then closes quickly behind and squeezes tight, just like your bum. There's a few other ones, at the bottom of the stomach to keep stuff inside the stomach, and then before the small intestines enters the large intestines, there's another one. And if the lower esophageal sphincter is not triggered to tighten tight, 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 if the acid isn't high enough. So if you don't produce enough acid, it won't trigger, and then you can have your bloating because you are fermenting. Your food is fermenting in your stomach, not digesting, or maybe it's a combination of fermenting and digesting, or it's fermenting in your small intestines, and that gas is coming up and you're burping, and that brings the weak acid up into your esophagus and into your mouth. And sometimes it causes even lung problems. It causes damage to the teeth, causes damage to the esophagus. And so the doctors give you antacids to lower the acid further so that these weak acid burps are not harming you. And that's doing you such an injustice because now you can't digest your food, which means you can't break it down, which means you can't absorb your nutrients. And over time, you get more and more deficient. Just like Jen said, if you're eating protein, but you can't digest it, like you're not getting it, it's just pooping out. You're not absorbing it. So what the digestive enzyme complex that is so, so crucial, and it's amazing. I love this complex, helps the body. It is a crutch. It increases the acid in your stomach and it helps break down your food. It's something that's gonna, just like you need a crutch when you have a broken leg, right? Or a cast. It aids you, it strengthens you, but ultimately you get so strong you don't need it anymore on a regular basis. So I had a client who was she had such bad digestion, and I got her on this particular enzyme complex, and she was taking upwards of 9 capsules. I'd never seen anyone else. She took 9 capsules per meal. Now, like most people are 2 to 3 capsules per meal if they have if they have digestive problems, sometimes 4, but she took 9, and that allowed her, she chose to get off of. Now, I'm not a doctor and Jen's not a doctor. We can't tell people to get off their medications, but this client with her doctor got off of her proton pump inhibitors, got off of all of these meds, and she built her digestion back with this program, and now she has total strength in her digestion. And this is the cool part. That's like you'd said, the 21-day gut reset is that we can support ourselves to get so healthy, to have robust acid so that we don't have the problems with the acid burps anymore, because that lower esophageal sphincter will tighten, close. When you take that enzyme, it signals it to close tightly. And so it turns off that problem, the stomach acid problem coming up into your throat. But I can't tell you how many times I've helped people. I know you have, just dozens and dozens of people, help people to overcome GERD or heartburn or acid reflux, all of it. And it does definitely require the foundation nutrition to fill in those gaps so the body
Sure.
can build healthy digestion. But right on the get-go, it's like instead of reaching for the Tums, reach for these digestive enzymes. It is like night and day. I took them in pregnancy. It is essential to take them during pregnancy because the body slows down digestion and produces less acid. I felt so good on these digestive enzymes when I was pregnant. It's just like night and day. It really, really makes a difference. So anyways,
Right.
there's my little soapbox about how cool just that one product is. It's such a smart idea, Jen, to travel with them. That's really smart.
Yeah, well, because you just don't have the same control. Even during the holidays, if you are gonna be consuming things that you might not be doing regularly, if you do cheat a little bit, it's just a really good tool.
Eh,
It's like when you're in the snow, you have snowshoes, you know what I mean? I just can't say enough about it. And of course, we always like for something like GERD, as you're mentioning, we always are very, very intentional when somebody comes to us with that problem to address it at the foundational level. This particular enzymatic formula is something we always use in that scenario, but it isn't something that somebody always has to be reliant on because we actually do other more foundational things to upregulate and optimize the proper pH of someone's stomach with things that are the root issues of that, which is, part of our basic formula. One of our main foundational formulas is going to be used in that instance. And I tweak it a little bit for people who have GERD, and I ask them to do some extra things that make a big difference quickly, but they're always going to do the enzyme complex as well, at least for the beginning. Most of my clients don't need to stay on that. Once we've fixed the problem, then they would just be using it either as needed because they're going to they're just out of control of what they're cooking, or they're not, they're usually in control of their cooking, but they're eating out. At that time, they're going to use them eating out, traveling. Or I also find though that wintertime, people's digestion kind of slows down because they're moving less, they're not as active, they're not as warm, and the digestion actually is a fire, right? So making sure not eating cold food in a wintertime is another important thing. Like, not right straight out of the freezer or the refrigerator. There's a whole dynamic around supporting digestion with the temperature of your food, the spices that you use and all that, and that's a whole nother conversation. For me, I would probably not go without my digestive enzymes for most meals during the wintertime, whereas in the summertime, I don't need to take them as often. But that formula for me happens to be one that is part of my regular routine, just because I find that my gut needs that extra support. My bowels move better. Before I started doing this path of helping people, I was a massive patient. So I went to see
Hmm.
tons of different naturopathic doctors and tried to get help in all different kinds of ways, of course, to get well when I was so sick. And I learned a lot from them. But the formula that I now work with, this one formula, it's about $30, is actually comprised of 3 different formulas that a naturopath might give somebody to optimize their digestion, which would be upward of over $100 if you had to buy all 3 of those. So it's just a really well formulated, super, complete digestive at the top end, at the stomach level. It starts from the stomach down. When you and I went over that in a lot of detail, I really encourage people to go back and listen to that because I think we really unpacked it well in episode 180 in terms of breaking down the way that digestion works from the top down, if you will. One of the other things I wanted to share, which is in my immune kit for emergency, but this also kind of crosses over to a daily use product for as needed or if desired, is what I like to, I have kind of nicknamed it something called flower power. And I looked up what its benefits are for respiratory health in particular, because one of the things about quote unquote fighting a sickness or feeling quote what we call under the weather is that you notice you notice you kind of feel more tired, right?
Mm.
And you might feel more congested, you might get a headache, all these different symptoms that we experience and we recognize as, oops, I might be fighting something, right? This particular formula is one that we drink. And I personally like to drink it hot in the wintertime. So yeah, and there's certain different flavors. There's like 4 different flavors now. And the berry flavor is my favorite to drink hot. And I don't put it in boiling water, but just, what would be comfortable to drink. I'll put a packet in there and Mike and I do this, my husband, and I add a few shakes of cayenne pepper because as we talked about earlier, and my favorite formula has that in it, but I also like the way it feels on my throat because, if you have an itchy or scratchy throat, it's nice to have kind of this little heat that kind of helps with that. So that's how we use it. But it also happens to be my favorite, one of the favorite, well, all of the 3 that we've been talking about, my superior complex, the enzyme complex, and then also the probiotic. Those, they are superior formulas. And I've looked at a lot of different nutritional supplements and there just aren't, I mean, some things are decently made. Of course, I have no idea where they're sourced or wherever, which is why I stick with where I know things are sourced and how they're sourced and the care that's gone into it and the longevity and the, the flagship nature and who's behind all this, and the family oriented company, and the fact that the doctor has a book in the Smithsonian, and I mean there's real solid sound research behind the formulations that I work with, and I am very, very careful. Every once in a while I'll have to recommend something that I is outside of that line because it's just not there. It's not very often, but I'm always leery because I don't know where it's sourced. I don't know the third party testing. I don't know, and I don't have enough time to go research it all because I've gotten such great results with this and I'm busy working with clients. And so, I just it's the Wild West, ordering things on Amazon and just kind of like, whatever. I mean, you've interviewed a lot of
Yeah,
yeah,
do not
right.
order supplements on Amazon. There's
Exactly.
so many. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups with holistic health professionals, and there's this one I joined more recently that's all about MTHFR and gene mutation and supporting liver detox. And it's full of practitioners. And we have whole threads talking about the cautionary tale of ordering from Amazon and how many supplements are either knockoffs. Like it's oh, just crazy how many knockoffs there are because there's, I'm going to say China, but it could be a different country. But, there's a lot of manufacturing, for example, in China, and they see what's selling really well in Amazon, and then
Sure.
they
Yep.
completely rip it off. But there is nothing in that capsule. It's all just fake stuff. And it's wild. It's wild how they get away with this. And then also, let's say it's not a ripoff, because not everything is a ripoff. You don't know how it was stored. So
Right.
you don't know if it's coming from someone's garage and they're shipping it themselves, or if it was held in one of the Amazon warehouses, which is not to code for optimal temperatures.
Exactly.
And you just don't know the chain of custody between the manufacturer and you. And then I just found out recently, I have like less than 5 supplement companies I trust, and I just found out one of them was bought by a big conglomerate, like, that owns, like, Nestle or something, and that's the problem, is that
It is.
they will, if it's a really good brand, a really reputable brand, it's going to eventually be bought out because, money, and then lower the quality, they lower they try to cut
Cut
margins or
costs.
whatever, and just you just can't trust it anymore. What I love about the brand that you work with and that I work with is I've been working with them since 2011, and it's a family run business, and I've watched them take something off the market temporarily because they couldn't source one of the ingredients at the highest quality to their standards. Because, like,
Mhm.
there was a drought somewhere halfway around the world and they couldn't source this thing. And they would rather lose money and take it off the market than just buy a substandard ingredient or just put a filler in there and say, yeah, 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 it's fine, which other supplement companies do. They also test every single batch. They don't do skip batch testing. They're transparent, and they rely so heavily on their results because they do have a great money back guarantee. So if they don't get results, then they don't survive as a company. This company's been around, what, 30 years? So
Yep,
yeah,
30 years,
I
going on
I
30 years. Yep.
I love that we can trust it, but you have to it's buyer beware out there. Do not buy
It
on
is.
Amazon. You wanna get it straight from the company, which is when you work with Jen at takeyoursupplements.com, you get it straight from the get shipped straight from the company, and they, of course, house it in a facility that's at the right temperature, and everything is fresh, and so that's a big thing I've learned. I've also talked to a few people who have in universities who have tested. They'll go, like, to Walmart and Walgreens and
Mhm.
get off the shelf. They'll get, like, there's some studies about ginkgo biloba, and there's some studies about vitamin C, and they'll study all of the brands sold just on shelves, just you could walk into any store that sells supplements, and they'll test them, and they did not find not a single supplement where the amount of vitamin C or the amount of ginkgo biloba they were saying was in the bottle, what the amount was actually in the bottle. Some of them had 0 vitamin C. Some of them had 0 ginkgo biloba. Most of them had just they had less. They had 50%, 60% less than what they claimed was on the
Marketed.
bottle. It is buyer beware. Just
It
because they
is.
say is on the bottle doesn't mean it is. Now, the FDA isn't regulating this, but they will step in if enough people have a major health problems from a supplement, or they'll
Mhm.
step in and they'll remove a supplement from the shelves when people have died or there've been a lot of injuries reported. So that's the only level of protection we have is you could be the one, buying a supplement and getting damaged. And that's why it's buyer beware. So that's why I trust this company so much. And I give it to my kid, I give it to my husband, I take it, you take it. Like we would only recommend what
What we know.
we know.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I wanna say a couple things. You just spurned my inspiration again, which is that one of the things I absolutely love about working with this company, and again, the doctor himself is, he's a flagship. He's now, I think, 85, and he's one of the oldest living naturopaths in the nation, and,
That is
you
still
know
working.
He's and still working, yep. And, all these younger people, bless their hearts, and wonderful that it's happening, and he would, I'm sure he's doing a victory dance because it's becoming so much more popular, right, to take care of oneself and to do it in a natural way. But these younger doctors are so much riding on the coattails of his research, right? I want to let people know, and they're certainly welcome to reach out to me specifically about this. Over the last 2 months, has released a GLP-1 support program that is 100% natural and safe, and not creating any of the kinds of effects that, the
Well, it's
injections
not
and
a
the
drug. It's not
no,
a
not
drug.
at all.
So GLP-1 naturally occurs in our gut, right? And so there's ways, and you could even just do an internet search. There's ways to help the body increase GLP-1. There's all kinds of food extracts and food, just whole foods and fiber-rich foods that increase our own GLP-1 production. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, they have a system, they have a kit that it's not going to produce the side effects of the GLP-1 medication because it's not a medication. It's naturally supporting the body to produce more GLP-1. And what people are saying, I know it's only been on the market for about 2 months, but what people are saying from taking it is that they notice within a day their appetite goes down. Not scary, but their appetite goes down and they're just feeling fuller. They're feeling more satiety, their cravings are down. It's kind of too soon to tell if it's like helping, support blood sugar, but the you have a whole system for reversing type 2 diabetes and increasing insulin sensitivity. So if anyone does have blood sugar problems, they'd want to get
Yes.
on that. But yeah, I'm a skeptic, like, naturally. So I would say skeptically optimistic. I tried the supplement program for a few days and noticed that I was fuller faster. And then life got busy. I stopped taking it. But I'm gonna finish the 30 days. I'm gonna finish it out. But I so only took 4 days worth of it, and that was 2 weeks ago. And what I have noticed since is that every time I have a meal, about halfway through the meal, I'm like, "Whoa, I could stop eating. I'm full." And I'm like,
That's been yeah.
"What?" That's really interesting.
That's been the common feedback is,
I only took it for like
"Hey."
4 days 2 weeks ago. It did something to my gut because I'm noticing that every meal I'm like wanting to eat less and less. And that's and get f and feel fuller longer and just not be as hungry, so I thought that was interesting.
Well, I think that the whole way in which, the doctor and the research, this is all about allowing our body to do what it's supposed to do the way God and nature intended it to do. That's the whole approach to health, right? And that we take, and that the doctor takes. And so and they have a full scientific advisory board, and they're always looking at the new research and trying to come up with solutions that are safe, that the population is looking at. And so this GLP-1 took them a long time to come up with it because there was a lot of research that went into it. And the whole intentionality behind it is, hey, you want to be listening to what your body actually needs to be eating, and not being driven by the food noise and the cravings and the imbalances and you know what I mean? That thing that you just feel
Mhm.
like you can't silence. And so that's been the main. I'm in a Facebook group with other people who are doing the program, and I've been doing the program now for only about 2 days, so I'm really new to it. My bowels were great after the 2nd day, which I because there's this fiber supplement, it's delicious, I think. I don't really like drinking, like, psyllium and extra fiber things, and so this I think it's delicious. But anyway, between that and there's a shot you take, and you do this one thing for 10 days and then
It's
something
a
else for 20.
shot, you mean like a drink.
a liquid
It's a
drink.
little liquid shot, and
Yeah.
it tastes fine. I like it. I like the fiber drink too. It was easy to get down.
It's
But
really
you
easy to
say
get down.
shot, and people are like, "I'm giving myself injections." You're like, "No, no,
No, no
no."
injection, sorry, a shot, like a little they call it a shot, but it's like, I don't know, maybe 3 ounces of a liquid in a glass bottle that you drink,
Yeah,
you drink it all down. But it's super easy to take, and it tastes delicious, and I am, like you, a super geek when it comes to looking at the different ingredients, and there are some phenomenal ingredients in this stuff. I don't understand it all completely because I haven't had the time to look into the whole pathways in which we increase GLP. I'm just doing it by faith, but so far I'm loving it, and I know that a lot of other people who are doing it, who have been on it longer than I have, are down 5 pounds. Their genes are getting, because we have a Facebook group and people are tracking and talking and, because it's so new, everybody wants to be transparent and support one another and find out, how well this thing works. But I think it has a tremendous amount of potential, to be an alternative to people who, really who just nobody should be on the drug. It's
right.
just not safe. So anyway, but we'll talk about that on another time, perhaps on another interview. But let me tell you a little bit more about my favorite flower power drink, which when you first interviewed me, you said, well, Jen, if you were going to go to a desert
A
island,
desert
this was
island. I
like, yeah,
remember this. This was
this
like
is your
10
fun
years ago.
question,
I
right?
said,
Or your
if you
fun
were going to a
question for you.
desert island, what's like the one thing, or like, I think what's three things you want to bring? And you said you wanted to, like, it surprised me. You're like, I have to bring this with me. What I love about this drink, and it does taste, to me, it tastes great. I like the original flavor,
Yeah.
but you like the berry flavor. I like the
No, no,
original.
I like the berry flavor warm on a daily
Okay,
basis
okay.
because I was
I've
going to talk
never
about
have
that.
I ever had it warm? I don't even know. I'm gonna have to go try it. So I love that it has superoxide dismutase, SOD, in it, and that is so good. It's a powerful antioxidant for your cells, for your nervous system, for your brain. Um, this product, this drink was once described to me as, if you need to do your taxes and you don't have any brain power because you're foggy brained, if you drink this, you will want to do your tax. Like, your brain will have all the clarity it needs to finish your taxes at like 10 at night. And you go from like foggy brain to like clear thinking. And when they described it, it was like, oh, that is exactly how it makes me feel. But you can also take it when you're feeling sick, and you can even give it to kids when they're feeling sick. And I know several people that do, and it really helps. It really
Right.
helps. It helps you feel better while you're feeling sick, and also
Exactly.
helps your immune system to overcome, because it has like bee pollen extract, it has green tea extract, it has the SOD, the superoxide dismutase in it. It has a bunch of vitamins in it. So it's very nutrient dense, and it has lots of polyphenols and polysaccharides, antioxidants, which help modulate the immune system. Yeah, I love
Well,
that
I
drink.
so and when we sort of started on this little chapter of discussion, I was talking about, when you're feeling sick, you're feeling these symptoms and all these symptoms you're feeling, right? So the thing about this product is, just like you said, if you are feeling any symptom like that and you are sick and you're not, you haven't caught it early enough and you're like in a full-fledged sick, it will make you feel better, and it's wonderful to take during being sick. But on the positive side and on the daily side, the reason this is my favorite product is because I literally have never met another product. Literally. There's other ones that are close. There's other ones that I adore. There's other ones that I understand why. But I literally have never come up against anything else that almost no matter how you're feeling, it's going to make you feel better. It's got to be something to do with the brain because, and I cannot understand, I haven't tried because I'm not out there at 7-Eleven or whatever, but like, you should drink this instead of the monster drink. But literally, anybody that's addicted to soda pop and that they like that, especially like
Or
Mountain Dew,
energy drinks, like you said. Yeah.
any energy drink, this is better than any energy drink on the market, like no holds bar, no matter what. It's not going to make you feel jacked. It's going to make you feel focused, and you have a focus for a long amount of time. It is exactly what energy drinks are supposed to do. But it also has, like you said, SOD, which is one of the strongest antioxidants from what I understand. If you're in a like a state of decline that's really severe, and I don't exactly understand what would have caused that, but I know that if you go to the hospital and they have to take you out of some state of immune emergency, they literally inject you or drip in or do an IV of SOD. And I looked up what this does to lung function because again we're talking about respiratory stuff. This is one of the strongest formulas to support optimization of lung function. The pollen in it reduces inflammation in the lungs, modulates the pathways of the inflammatory cells, and in some studies they did with pollen, bee pollen and anti-inflammatory components, definitely showed fewer infections over a 6-month period and very protective for in the face of respiratory disease. The black currant in it suppresses the allergic reaction. So again, it's one of the things that I would use for people who are sensitive to the histamine response, right? Um, the green tea, we know so much about that. It inhibits oxidative damage and attenuates acute lung injury, asthma mucus production, things like that. So it's just a great thing. Now, for those people who are like me and maybe can't drink a lot of coffee, I can drink this without feeling jittery. I can drink a whole packet without feeling jittery most of the time. And that's really, really unique for something that brings in the level of focus and energy that it does for somebody who has a sensitive response to stimulants. So that's why this is my favorite product. And there's so many different ways in which I would use this. But for me, it's usually a daily drink. So anyway, my question would still be, this would be on the list if I have to go to a desert island, but instead of going to a desert island, I've gone to a mountaintop Christmas globe, at which I am inside of now, and I'm still drinking Flower Power.
It's true. I've been there. Listeners may not know, Jen lives in the most beautiful part of the world, up in the north central North Washington. And she's in an off-grid cabin. It's a wood cabin. It's so beautiful, overlooking the forest and the trees and the deer and it's so beautiful. And I love going there. It's so peaceful. You hear crackling fire and I love visiting you, and we just like unwind and sip our flower power and just talk about life, and everything slows down when I come to visit you, and then we do lots of fun cooking in your kitchen and go for little walks outside or just breathe in the
And
crisp
you're not
fresh
gonna
air.
recognize my kitchen because I have a new stove.
I'm excited.
Yep.
Wow. That's gonna be fun. Next time I come visit, it's gonna be fun. And Jen has a beautiful dog, which is my favorite dog in the whole wide world, Numa. And not that this has anything to do with, immune stuff, but you do have a line of supplements for animals. Some people will take better care of their animals than themselves, and
That's right.
these supplements had my cat live to be 20, and she had a hernia, and the supplements healed her hernia because there's all the nutrients that should be in dog food or cat food that aren't. So it's a supplement they add to their food. And I saw a complete turnaround. My cat went from lethargic and just in pain, and I started adding this to their food, and within days she was acting like she was a kitten again. And she was 18 at the time, and just completely turned her around. Then she lived to be 20, and it was so neat to watch that turnaround. I've seen it with other animals that adding the complete nutrient profile we're supposed to have, both humans and animals, changes everything.
The foundation nutrition that we talk so much about in terms of optimizing our overall well-being is just as important for every mammal, right? And the doctor that we studied with was a veterinarian, right, before a naturopathic doctor. So he's got a lot of information and knowledge around what every mammal needs. And so there's a one canister supplement that has all the 90 nutrients in it that is great for pets, cats and dogs, but we can give it to horses and any mammal really.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
they
liver
need it.
flavored, so I wouldn't recommend that we take it.
No, we could though.
We could.
For the apocalypse, get a few
Yeah.
canisters. No.
I'll stick to the human stuff, thanks.
So one thing I just have to tell you, which is crazy. So my dog's been really, really quiet this whole interview, and
I've
I
I've
am
I've heard
not
him move a
kidding.
few times.
Well, that might be the husband, but I'm not kidding you. As soon as you said the dog and the name, and he can't hear me because I'm on headset, right?
He can hear.
He
He can hear
barked.
through. Yeah, because Numa, he can hear me. I
He might
whispered.
because of his incredible hearing,
Yeah,
but he
I
might
was
be outside now.
downstairs. I was in your oh, he's outside now. Okay, I was downstairs sleeping in your downstairs area and he was upstairs. This was early one morning and I turned to Duffy, my husband, and I said, "Duffy, watch this." And I whispered Numa's name. I said, "Numa." And I whispered it and Numa just got up and you could hear him walking and he came all the way. All I did was whisper his name and he heard me from downstairs and he got up and tried to, get in bed. And we're like, "No, no, no, no.
Yeah.
We will pet you."
Yeah.
I love amazing. I love your dog. And you take such good care of him because I want him to live forever and ever and ever.
Yes.
This to summarize, you've got an emergency kit of supplements that everyone should have in their pantry, in their supplement, pile. And I actually I have a bookshelf in my living room where I've organized my supplements, kind of like it'd be like you're walking into a little,
Apothecary shop.
apothecary, yeah, because I put little labels on and the thing is I ran out of room for my immune stuff, so I have a green bin, an IKEA green bin, and it's full of all my immune stuff, and I put it in the shelf at the bottom of the shelf, and all the ones that you recommend are in there, and those are the first ones that we jump to. The second, like the other day, Duffy woke up with a sore throat, and I immediately gave him everything that you've mentioned, and it completely blew it out of his system. And then a few days later, our son woke up with a sore throat, gave him everything, blew it out of his system, and I never got the sore throat. And I gotta tell you, that is usually I'm the first to get stuff, and then and then Duffy's the last person. But, like, how cool is that, that we could just jump to some supplements and help the body, help the immune system modulate, and these are all from plants, from nature,
Right, and they're age-old things that, that humankind has been using for ancient things.
right?
They're not, formulated in a lab and trying to, yeah, so it's just an incredible blessing to have access to all of this, and I try to keep it really simple for people, because if it works, just do it, and it works, and you're good to go, and, most of the time, you can catch stuff, and every once in a while, something gets through, and if it does, the time that you're gonna be sick is gonna be significantly shorter. It just
My first interview, all the way back at the beginning, 10 years ago, Dr. Heidi said, "The body speaks in symptoms, and if we don't listen to the whispers, we're gonna get hit by the cosmic 2 by 4." And it's like, a lot of times we don't listen to our body until it's screaming at us, right? So the thing is, if you take an account, like, go to take your supplements doc, fill out your name, email, phone number. It's a free phone call with Jen. She's not she's not like a pressury salesperson. She's a health coach. She helps you. She's amazing. And you're gonna fill out a form that has like your symptoms and stuff. And so she's gonna get a deeper understanding of what's going on with you. And she'll ask you questions and then she'll, based on your needs, based on your health goals, based on your budget, she will help formulate a plan for you and help you get on the plan. Um, and doing this, and then she asks you to commit to 3 months because you want to give your cells enough time to turn over. Because, for example, red blood cells, it's 90 days. And a lot of cells in the body turn over around 90 days. Like, bones are a few years, right, to fully turn over. So, but I have seen people no longer have arthritic pain within weeks of starting the protocol for bones and joints. So, yes, it takes longer to regrow. You can regrow bones and joints. You can regrow cartilage. MDs will tell you you can't, which is wild. It's like crazy. It's crazy what they'll tell you because that's what they were taught. And it's because the pharmaceutical industry would rather you get a
Don't need a
to
shot
wait till you're
regularly.
yeah, wait till you're so broken down that you get a replacement. You can I've known people who have canceled their hip or knee replacements and regrown their own joints, and you can do it. The body can regrow. Jen says give her 90 days. Do your best to give her a 90-day commitment because you're going to see such great results, but you got to, give it time. But my clients, when they're on this program, within the first month, they all say, I have way better energy. I have way better
Mhm.
sleep. I have way better digestion. I have way better mental clarity. The energy is a big one for most people. Like, wow, I really definitely noticed more energy.
That's yeah.
And immune something, because the immune something, immune health is like it is the absence of something. So it takes you longer to recognize it because you all of a sudden you're like, hey, it's February. I started taking this back in December and I haven't caught a cold yet.
Right.
It's that realization. I've had a few clients who were like, I haven't been sick in 12 months. This is my first time, or I haven't had seasonal allergies this year, first time in my adult life. And it's like, yeah, it helps your immune system. And it takes
Mhm.
time for you to recognize how much it's helping your immune system. So I recommend listeners just do it. Just jump in and and talk to Jen, because you don't know how good your health can get until you do. Now, some people are a little shy, right? So you do ask that people fill out their name, their email, their phone number. What if they're too shy to have a phone call with you? I prefer that people I'm an extrovert. I prefer to talk to people. I think you prefer to talk to people just because you can go back and forth and get answers quickly and help
Mhm.
them quicker. But for
Right.
people who are like, whoa, I'm a little too shy to talk, still fill out their information and they can text with you, they can, email with you, right? They can get somewhere, right? So
Yep.
that's the thing, is like
Definitely. They
it's
can
okay if you're
and
shy.
yeah, it's okay if you're shy, it's okay, and, it's especially if you can articulate clearly what the main challenges are, that's where because I am so intentional about people getting results, that even though every body needs this foundation nutrition, people have different compliance willingness. They might wanna drink their supplements, they might wanna swallow pills. Some people don't like swallowing pills and capsules. Some people only have a certain budget. So I try to really take the time and care to make sure that whatever we're doing is gonna be sustainable for at least that 90 days, and it's gonna work in a person's lifestyle, which is why I like to do things over the phone because I can ask questions and it's more efficient that way. So, but, yes, people can reach out in whichever way they feel to, and we just all it's all about trying to help a person become their own best advocate, which is really different than what I think people glean from their medical doctors. The medical doctors unfortunately keep the person, dependent upon them for that 20 minutes that they can barely do anything. It's just insane. I mean, it's really, really insane. So, I think
Well,
that the service that
you're
we
preaching to the
offer is
choir. You're preaching to the choir
yeah,
for sure, because if someone's listening,
yeah,
they're like,
they already know.
I gotta figure out how to get my health to the next level, and recognizing that MDs don't have all the answers, right?
But
But
they have their
they act
place.
like they do. That's the problem.
Mhm.
Um, what happens after the 90 days? So someone,
That's a
let's
great
say they
question.
bought, let's say it's $250 or $300 worth of supplements per month for 3 months, because they've got, like a bunch of different health issues and they wanna overcome them. So they're compliant. Let's say they're like your star client. And by the way, Jen doesn't if you just follow this program, she doesn't charge you. She should be. You should be charging people thousands of dollars. You don't. If you wanna go deep, 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 do deep, deep dives, you can pay her. She still doesn't charge enough. She's incredibly affordable, but just getting on the supplements, she doesn't charge you. So, like, this is like we talked about it in a past interview. It's like Jen's ministry. She is
Mhm.
truly ministering and helping people and doing it in a way that makes it affordable for everyone. And she wants you to get results. So, okay, let's say they were compliant. They followed the advice around diet. They followed the supplements you recommended. They did it for 90 days. They've got results. Now what? What happens after 90 days?
So it really is dependent upon the individual. There's a couple different things that can happen. Um, sometimes, for example, well, and on an average basis, they probably wouldn't have even spent $300 a month. They would somewhere be between 150 and 250 probably, okay? If they had a lot of stuff going on and they had the finances and the wherewithal to throw the bus at it, like my gal with the psoriasis all over, she was probably closer to 330 or whatever. For her, like let's take her as an example because she's a really good one who had a lot going on. That person is going to be on these supplements for the rest of her life because she saw the value. She knows she does not have to rely on the doctor, to get cortisone, any creams and all that stuff. She knows what works. But let's say that person or anybody had a change in their finances and she couldn't, because she's not going to need to be on everything that she was on in the beginning. We've dwindled down some things that are no longer necessary, but that after the 90 days, basically what I do is I say, okay, your health score is elevated by this much because we re-give them the health evaluation. They start out, in the beginning, they get what's called a health score, and then they'll retake the evaluation and their score will generally be elevated between 30 to 60 points is sort of an average that I see. I've had 100 points in 90 days. So dependent on that, if they can afford to and they like the program and they feel good, they're going to stay on some semblance of it for a really long time. But that's up to them. I am here, and then I'll say, okay, would you like to talk to me in 3 months just to do a check-in? Maybe something's changed, if your hormones change, or you have a life change, or if you have a financial change, please reach out to me because you've been doing so well. We don't want to lose any of the ground that you've gained, but if you have a change in your finances, we literally have maintenance programs that can bring it way down to $100 or less a month. And for the bare minimum, we can be at like $35 a month. So there's things that one can do that are feeding you at that cellular level that we know for sure you cannot get from food, that in an ideal situation, people are staying on at least the 90 essentials, the foundation program. But basically the answer is we can do whatever a person needs to do. And that's why I make myself available for the fine tuning part of it, which I absolutely love. But I have clients that I've had for the last 15 years that are still taking the supplements because they wouldn't be without them, like you and I wouldn't be without them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where people can make a choice. Hey, do I want to? This is an insurance policy. I would rather not pay a huge insurance bill and maybe just have emergency insurance because this is what I do. I never go to the doctor. Maybe go, I mean, if I'm being good, I go once a year for blood work, but usually I push it to two because there's never anything out of range and I don't need to go. And so I keep the bare minimum insurance for emergency use only. And this is what I spent. This is my insurance program. So ideally, people are staying on some semblance of this because they've changed their diet, so they're doing better in that way. But if they just go back to eating food that's not grown in the soils that are mineralized, etc., they're not going to be able to maintain that optimal health without the supplementation on some level,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in this day and age. So the answer is we do our very best to help each individual person with their budget and with their lifestyle and with their to maintain the health score that we've achieved.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So, because we'll
Absolutely.
get to a certain level after 90 days, we'll check it, and then, hopefully they've had enough of a taste of the potentiality of them living an excellent life, because if they haven't completely overcome things, they've definitely sensed that there's been an improvement. And that's why we take the time to do that health score, because like I said, people will say, "Oh, I feel great. I feel fine. I forgot I even had all that other stuff going on," which is good, but you go another 3 months without the supplements, you're gonna start, unfortunately, losing ground.
And that's
So
simply because you have these nutrient stores in you. Some nutrients are like water soluble, so B vitamins aren't stored too long, whereas fat soluble or minerals are stored in the bones. That's like your bank account, right? You're making deposits in your bank account. And if you've been deficient for many years and you start to all of a sudden now you're taking in all the nutrients your body needs and now all the cells are fully nutrified, you're going to start to feel amazing. And then a few months later, if you completely go off of it and you go back to eating anemic food, slowly you're going to lose ground just because it's like your tank is empty, right? And if you've
It
been on these
is.
supplements for years and years and years, and then you like miss a few weeks because you go on vacation, don't take them with you, it's no problem. It's no
Yeah, you're
problem.
not gonna
You're
notice,
not going to
right.
notice it like
No.
hugely. And then you come home, get back on your supplements, and you get a boost of energy. And you're like, oh, yeah, that was me a few weeks off of them because it's fortifying. It is the word supplement. It's like the mortar. There's bricks. The bricks are your food, and it's the mortar. It is what's missing. So that's my pitch. I love it.
Well, and
It's helped me. I want it to help everyone. And the fact is, we have a solution to help people naturally overcome immune issues, especially during sugar/flu season.
yeah, and the other thing is that, we are creatures of habit, and sometimes we fall out of good habits as much as we get into good habits.
Well
So,
said.
my job and my great honor is that when clients trust me with their health and with their, with stewarding them, helping them steward their own health and becoming their best advocate, um, I encourage them to I mean, most I don't think I think, people glean something no matter what they do, but I have had clients that have kinda, like, stopped after the first month and things like that. It breaks my heart because there's so much potential, and that's why I take the time to find out where a person is and not require that they do everything perfectly, but simply support them to move in that next best step and remind them that your life and your health is worth it. You are worth stewarding. You know, you have to steward the temple, right? And you're worth it. And you have desires and goals and grandchildren or whatever that you want to be around for. And so I take it as kind of a sacred oath to help a person move up to that next level. And I don't really require for anybody to do that beyond 90 days, but most 9/10 of my clients choose to move past the 90-day mark on some level. And many times because they're not cheap supplements, they're not low quality supplements, there is an expense to maintain it, but I'm very good about helping people figure out exactly what to do and what we could get rid of or what we need to keep so they don't lose any ground. Does that make sense? Doing
Absolutely.
more in the beginning is better because someone's going to know it worked faster. But I always interview people on that level too. And as I started out by saying, there's always a good, better, and best way to do this. And not everybody can afford to do the best, and not everybody has the compliance to do the best, but we can always do something. So
Yes.
that's the main thing,
Yeah, like I said, I just started out on the,
right?
26 or $27 bottle of liquid minerals and had such substantial results that I was like, what else could this give me? And then I got on the rest of the program to fill in all the nutrient gaps. But my first experience was on it's like the biggest bang for your buck
It
are the
is.
trace minerals. It's not filling in all the nutrient gaps, but it's filling in a big portion of what I was missing. And I've done that with other people. I think about Barnetti's boyfriend, Josh, and
Mhm.
how Barnetti was a friend of ours who unfortunately passed away due to she ended up deciding she was talked into it by the oncologist to do radiation after she was cancer free. I begged her not to. The radiation killed her. It was heartbreaking, and we love her and we miss her, and I can't wait to see her one day again in heaven.
Mhm.
And when I first met Barnetti, this was 15, 16 years ago. um I gave her boyfriend a bottle of the minerals. When I first met him, he looked like, I mean, he wasn't on meth. He looked like he was on meth. He was sunken. His eyes were sunken. His face was gray. Not it had no flesh color to him. His cheeks were sunken. His eyes were dirty. He looked very paranoid and shaky and scared, um and I gifted him a bottle of these same minerals. And he called me back 3 days later crying. And he was in his 20s. He was definitely a guarded and more macho guy. He wasn't someone who would just call a stranger crying. And he said, I just finished this bottle. Now, the bottle is something that would have lasted him 2, 3 weeks. And he finished it in 3 days because his body was craving it the moment he started taking it. And this is not the first time I've heard this before. And he said, "What you don't know about me was I was raised in the foster system and I grew up on Pop Tarts because that was the only food I had access to. I've been in chronic pain my entire life, and my as long as he could remember, he couldn't sleep in a bed because of his chronic pain, and he couldn't lift his own son, like, couldn't lift him up. He had a 2, 3-year-old son, couldn't lift him up because his shoulders would give out, and he would have to sleep in a lazy boy. 3 days, he finished the bottle. He said he's able to lift his son, he's out of pain, he's sleeping in a bed, and he just couldn't believe it, and I said, "Yeah, that's your body was missing these nutrients." And it just turned his life around. He got on the full program, completely turned his life around, and that was one of those really interesting things because I gifted him a bottle. I've gifted dozens of people bottles, and people have come back with various stories about how it helped them. But that it's like if you don't have a lot of money, you should get on that one. Like, just start.
Right.
Start somewhere, but start with that one.
Yeah, and then, there's again, there's levels, so that's the bare minimum, but then there's a next step up that gives you all the vitamins and all the
Mhm.
amino acids and the elemental minerals that is still, under $60. So, there's, like I said, good, better, best, and I have, many of my clients do the sort of the best program because they can afford it, and those things work a bit faster and they taste better. But again, that's why I love doing it because I mean, if I could, I would hit it perfectly every time. I tend a little bit towards being a perfectionist, and I don't like the idea of good enough, I like it to be as good as I can do, as much as I can for what people can do, and so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So
pleasure.
to wrap up, I want you to share because you've talked about, you have a 21-day gut reset that really, really helps people. And you have this emergency immune kit. You have the foundation nutrition. What other sort of programs do you have? Because sometimes people think, like, for example, I use arthritis as an example because when I was in college, my professor who was a neurosurgeon before he became a professor that taught anatomy and physiology, neurology, pathology, all the ologies that I took in college. Dr. Lubacek was his name. He had ended up going on to be the dean of the Naturopathic College in Toronto, which surprised me because he was so biased towards allopathic medicine.
Wow.
When it came to studying in anatomy and pathology, when it came to studying cartilage, he yelled, he screamed at us. He got angry, and this was stuck with me, since I was like 19, it stuck with me. He said, "You cannot regrow cartilage. All those supplements out there don't work. You once you break down cartilage, you have to get a replacement for a hip or a knee, and you cannot heal arthritis." And I was like, I thought it was really odd how passionate he was about this. And then he went on to become the dean of the naturopathic college. Like, what gives? But what I thought was interesting, because at the time I was dating a guy who had lost everything in his knee. He was in a horrific biking accident, and the doctor said he would never walk again. And they recommended that he get, either an amputee or something. And he did martial arts to strengthen all the muscles, and so he had no ligaments in his knee left. He had no cartilage. It was like no, meniscus, I should say, and he was wearing down the cartilage, but he ended up doing martial arts so much that his knees held together by pure, willpower, but it would get so inflamed and he would be in so much pain, and then he would just go to the health food store and he would take handfuls of all the supplements, which now you have a whole program that has all the same ingredients that he used to take, and he would take them, and when he did, all of his inflammation would go away, all his knee pain would go away, and his knee would heal itself. And that was back in my 20s, and at the same time, I was, like, having this contrast of seeing him do this and take handfuls of these supplements for all the raw building blocks of the knee, and then have uh, my professor in college yell, because he's a medical doctor, "You can't regrow cartilage."
Mhm.
So, some people believe they can't overcome, like, let's say hot flashes. Yes, women, we can no at any age, at any stage, we can correct hormones. I can't tell you how amazing you have a program that helps reset, have healthy hormones, stop hot flashes. But, like, some people believe they can't or, stop migraines, or, like, you know what I mean? They just believe they have this problem, they'll always have this problem because the doctor said they would. So what kind of, like, big picture things do you also help people with in addition to gut and immune?
So there's a wonderful way in which we can discern categorically where there are more deficiencies in the system. And that's part of the research that this particular doctor that formulated most of these supplements did. So he studied so much about what's in a person's body by doing histopathologies and autopsies and what people are eating and looking at so much data. And not that there aren't more subcategories, but we basically support a person. Let's say somebody has dysregulated blood sugar. There is a particular program that we do to optimize blood sugar. If somebody has bone and joint situations, they have they're either in osteopenia or osteoporosis or have a degenerative joint or an arthritic situation, or believe it or not, in that same category would be high blood pressure. There's a particular protocol with extra support for those things. And there's there's a program, for immune and respiratory and brain health. So we if somebody has suffered a stroke or they're having dementia or, one of these things that affect the nervous system and the brain function, there's a particular protocol that gives extra support to the soft tissue of the body. And then, of course, there's the digestive program, and within the digestive program, but the thing that's unique about the way that we do stuff versus even another naturopathic approach or functional medicine approach is that those naturopaths or functional doctors might say take a person with blood sugar and literally give them things just to support blood sugar, healthy blood sugar. But we know that the body doesn't work as an isolated system. The pancreas is not isolated from the other parts of the body. So this is one of the most holistic programs I've ever met when it comes to medical nutrition, because we never, ever, ever forsake the foundation when a person actually wants to overcome something. And the thing that makes it simple is that and brilliant is that these 90 different essential nutrients, and when we talk about essential, that means the body has to have them and has to ingest them orally, not things we make by ourselves, because we take these raw essential, have to ingest orally new things, building blocks, and we make other things like glutathione and these peptides and all the things, GLP-1 and all the melatonin, all the things that we make,
But the body
serotonin,
makes itself, right? So
body makes itself.
we give the
Exactly.
raw building blocks to the body makes all the things the body needs to make.
Exactly. And yes, we can supplement with extra here's another really important distinction about why I believe we get the kinds of results that we do, is that yes, a person could supplement with extra glutathione or extra melatonin or GLP-1 or whatever, right? But that is not the way that God and the body were designed to function. And so we're doing something external that's pushing it into a state, and that's what drugs do, right? They're pushing it into a state artificially without doing the foundation build. So, like when it comes to blood sugar, if somebody came and said, listen, I'm diabetic or I'm hypoglycemic, or even if they just crave sugar a lot, I'm going to suggest that we do the foundational nutrition at wherever they can enter in, good, better, or best, plus the extra blood sugar support and some extra dietary support along the lines of encouraging them to eat a cup of beans with their breakfast, right? Legumes. So that's just an example. The other kinds of programs that we run or whatever that are extra support specific programs would be on this GLP-1. There's a whole program designed right around that. So that would be part of a weight loss program. But in an ideal world, I would also build their foundational nutrition and find out if they're what's going on with them in terms of their cribbing or their overeating. Now, this GLP-1 is addressing that a little bit differently, but traditionally that's been addressed with more of those trace minerals. So we look at the whole thing. I do parasite cleanses with people. I suggest that people do a smart and supported parasite cleanse at least once a year, if not twice. And there's a very astute and comfortable way to do that, meaning you don't get really sick and feel like, you're detoxing. We do a lot of extra things to support optimization of bowel function, and we use binders and things like that. And so that's a program that we offer. There's also some, if people want to go into like a bigger detox thing, we do a supported program on that, where once a year they might decide to do our full detox program. But it never is without the foundational 90 essential nutrients that are cellular building blocks, because if we do something without that, then we are basically practicing what we call fractionated nutrition, or even an allopathic approach, or like a fix-it approach to with natural remedies. We're still not dealing with foundational issues. And this is where I have a little bit of I don't really have a bone to pick about it. I'm not like upset about it or anything, but where I feel like I can fill in the gaps for people who have been working with other naturopathic or functional doctor people who are giving them supplements and things like that. It's like I did that. I saw like 18 different ones before I found this particular approach, because I never was getting what I actually needed at a foundational level, but I was doing all this other stuff on top of it, including juicing and, which is great. I'm totally for all of that, but the juice didn't have the trace minerals in it that I needed. So it's just a really smart and very practical way of approaching someone's health. And those extra things that we do are sometimes people, you know, actually, really, I think you and I together in interviewing the doctor and the interviews that we've done together, and our own personal experience of walking that path, I think people actually do understand the value of this. And everyone that I have listened to some of these podcasts before they work with us, because we do want them to understand what this program is. It is rather unique and it gets great results. I think we've done a good job of helping people to understand that, because everybody that I talk to thinks it makes a lot of sense. And so many other people are not doing that. They're kind of going with this, that, and the rest of it. And people are overwhelmed and confused and not really getting something that's simple enough and basic and foundational enough to know what to keep and what to throw out. I don't know. It's overwhelming, the amount of
Yeah.
information that people can come in contact with about upregulating health, even in the natural space, and still miss the mark.
Yeah, we're inundated. I just go on Facebook, and the amount of ads has gone up, especially like around watching
Yes, it
these
has.
videos. I see a lot of really cool video clips from these like health experts that I love listening to, and a lot of them are selling it's fractionated nutrition. Oh, take this one thing, take this one
Mhm.
thing, take this one thing. And you could just end up with a boneyard of
Mhm.
supplements. And I semi joke with new clients because I'm like, okay, I bet you have a cupboard with dust on it collecting of like half taken supplements, just like a boneyard, a graveyard of supplements. And all of them do. And that's 'cause we're just it's like we're blindfolded and we're throwing darts and we're guessing what the body needs based on, "Oh, that guy said this and I have got that symptom. I'm gonna
Exactly.
try this." And
Right.
we're treating symptoms and not getting to the root. And that's why this program that takeyoursupplements.com does is foundation nutrition the body needs. It's filling in all the gaps, and it's what the cells actually need. And then so many of the symptoms go away. What I love doing, and I know you do too, because you do it through the health questionnaire, which is really cool. I do something similar. I do a symptom inventory checklist, and if you want my checklist, you can buy my book. It's really affordable if you get. I think it's like under $10 if you go to my website learnforhealth.com. You can get my ebook or you can buy the physical book from Amazon. and just search Addicted to Wellness in Amazon or go to learnchild.com/addicted to wellness to get the physical book. And in there is my symptom inventory checklist. What I do with clients every month, when I first start working with them, I have them fill it out. And it's 3 columns. You've got, well, it's 4 columns. You got the symptoms. And so you think about all your symptoms you have, like my toe hurts. I have headaches 3 times a week, like everything, right? I get period cramps, whatever it is, right? Every single symptom you don't want to have, everything. And even the ones that you told you have because of your skin color or your heritage or you're a woman or you're a man or you're, because of
Mhm.
your age or because of your ethnicity, whatever, like because of whatever you've been told you have just because, write those down too. Because sometimes we don't write them down because, well, my doctor said I'd always have this. Like, no, 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 no. Right.
Right.
Just write it down. Oh, it's genetic. No, no, no. Write it down. I had one client who had 26 pages. Most people are like half a page, 2 pages at the most. One client, 26 pages of symptoms. It was wild reading it, absolutely wild. And then there's columns. There's 3 columns after you've filled out the symptoms that you have. And you could take a few days because sometimes you forget, oh, yeah, I've got this symptom once a month or
Mhm.
I've got this symptom twice a week. And the other 3 columns are frequency, intensity, duration. So how often does it happen? How intense is it? Like pain scale, for example, or how uncomfortable is it? And how long does it last? And
Mhm.
then I tell them, okay. I say, give them to me because then I read through the symptoms and the symptoms speak, the body's speaking, right?
It
So
does.
if you have, for example, adult onset asthma and you've got skin issues or hormone issues, I'm like, that's an EFA deficiency, right? And so not just going to give you EFAs because that's fractionated nutrition. EFAs are essential fatty acids, omega-3, mostly omega-3 though, because we tend to accidentally get omega-6 in our diet and the body can produce omega-9. So but omega-3, 6, and 9 are essential fatty acids, and you would want that accompanied with the rest of the nutrients, the profile that Jen talked about. And I've had
But you might do
clients.
extra. That's where
Yeah,
you
yeah, do
do you
extra.
right, you
I would
do
have them
extra
do
of that
extra of
particular.
that, exactly, and get on digestive enzymes to help break it down. Because most of the time when people have EFA deficiency symptoms, they also have like a removed gallbladder, for example. Um, and then I have them go about their life for a month, and then a month later, I have them redo the symptom inventory checklist. Don't look at the first one, redo it new, and then put them side by side and compare it. And you see how many symptoms fell off, how many symptoms you even within 30 days you forgot you had. You go back and you go, "Oh yeah, I haven't had that problem in 2 weeks or 3 weeks since starting the program." And my guy with 26 pages got down to 1 page in his first month. And then second month, half a page. And like I think the weirdest symptom it took the longest to get rid of was like when he had like an allergic reaction when he drank red wine. I'm like, honestly, I think you need to just stop drinking red wine, But everything else was just melting away, was just getting better. And so when someone comes to you and they have all these symptoms, if we're just treating symptoms, we're not getting to the root. But oftentimes, if we give the body the nutrients it needs, we supplement with the nutrients it's missing, and then do a few tweaks to the diet to stop throwing fuel on the fire, right? All these symptoms dissolve because they were all from nutrient deficiency. So, like my one client with adult onset asthma, she came to me because her doctor, who was also her boss, because she was the manager of a clinic, put her on steroids for her out of control adult asthma. And the steroids made her gain 25 pounds, and she was very uncomfortable with that. So she came to me for that problem. But I'm like, if I just tried to, quote unquote, treat, I'm not treating anyone, but, help her overcome the 25 pounds, then we would have never gotten to the root. So Jen, like I am listening for, Jen is listening because we're really good health coaches, integrative, holistic health coaches. We're listening for what's at the root. So I'm not going to just treat the first thing that comes. I'm going to listen to everything, just like Jen does. And then, so that's what I did. I gave her extra EFAs, digestive enzymes, and the full vitamin, mineral, amino acid profile. And 1 month later, she came to me and said, I am off of all medication and I haven't had any asthma. And she came to me, she's like, I'm sold, I'm staying on this program. And then she brought me family members. She's like, and I want you to talk to my niece, and I want you to talk to my daughter, and I want you to talk to my sister. And she started bringing me all of her family members one at a time. And her boss didn't because he isn't trained in nutrition, by the way. MDs are not trained in this, so they have no, if they give you an opinion, they're not trained in this. That's the problem. So it's like taking their opinions. It's just an opinion. They're not trained in it. And he didn't want to know. And how many times have I had a client who like reversed their diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and the doctor didn't want to know how they did it? It's like cognitive dissonance. It's wild. So this is the thing. We want to hear the full breadth of your symptoms, and Jen does it a bit differently than me, and that's cool. And you can do it. You could, Jen's way is awesome too, but it's collecting the symptoms and then listening for what the body is saying. The body is speaking in symptoms, and then getting the foundation nutrition and just watching the symptoms melt away. And that's why I love the quiz you do, because the health score, you can see like, oh, you went up 30 points. Oh, you went up 60 points. Like every month you can see, you can feel yourself getting better, but you can also see your score getting better and better. And it's, how many programs are that effective that quickly? So anyways, I'm so excited that you're bringing this information to those who need it, because we do not need another flu shot. We do not
Right.
need another, another antibiotic, right? We
Yes.
need to not not get sick in the first place, or if we start to feel symptoms, blow it out, help the body get over it faster. And Jen's got the answers. Go to takeyoursupplements.com. Just go there to look at the testimonials. Jen's got
Mhm.
some really cool testimonials, some video testimonials too, and just check them out. If you're still a little apprehensive, which like I'm a skeptical person, so I know if you're still skeptical, like go look at the testimonials. Also know there's a money back guarantee, and it's actually really affordable. And thank you, Jen, for all you do and all you give, because I know how much you give of yourself and you really, really, really care about people. Jen's called me crying tears of joy, sharing with me when she's helped someone and they've done the work. She guided them, they did the work, and then they overcame major health issues. She calls me just elated. It is so rewarding to know that you can help someone in that way. So thank you, Jen, for what you do. And please, listeners, share this episode with those you care about, because it's so important that we have this information and this foundation nutrition. And Jen's a delight to work with, especially if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and want to overcome it. So thank you, Jen, for all you do. Listeners, go to takeyoursupplements.com. Is there anything you want to say to wrap up today's interview?
Well, I want to thank you for all that you do too, and the incredible platform that you have for people to become empowered. I cannot tell you how many stories I hear of clients who are just, in love with your podcast, and they just love you. They feel like they know you.
I
And I
love them
always love
too.
it when we're together and we can call one of them together on the phone and surprise them. And
Oh,
they just,
yeah, we've done that. That's fun. When I drive up, it's like Jen's like 6, 7 hours from, I just said 6, 7. I am sorry. I apologize, but it's true. It does. The drive takes between 6 and 7 hours, depending on the weather to get. So I visit her a
yeah,
few times a year. And then while I'm up visiting her off-grid cabin in the mountains in the woods, she'll call one of my listeners who became her client, and we'll jump on the phone together and talk, and that's always fun. That's always fun
yeah,
to do. I love you guys, and
yeah,
we're all in this health journey together, and
we
I
are.
want for you to be symptom free. I want for you to think of yourself 90 days from now having a fully healed body, being a body that takes your health to a whole new level. You can have energy that you haven't had since you were a kid. And I got that. I know I'm like in my 40s, and I re- reclaimed the energy, the mental clarity that I had when I was a kid. It's so cool, and you can do it too, and I want you to have it. And I want you to have the strong and robust immune system that you deserve. So go to takeyoursupplements.com, talk to Jen. Thank you, Jen. And
You are so, so welcome.
this
Thanks so
was
much for
fun.
having me. And I do have one other thing I want to say, and that is something that you said to me, which is we are not going to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah.
So never give up. I mean, there are other things that we didn't talk about today, that tools and things that I work with clients, things that you work with that we didn't talk about today on another non-supplement level. But the point is that we were created in the image and likeness of God. We were created to not live in a world that's fallen and broken and sick. And all of those things are not the way we were intended to live. And so we do have to reframe and On the physical level of supplementation, I haven't met anything that works better, but there's a whole other level of being that, that we all need to look at too. So that's more on a spiritual, esoteric level, but it's very, very important. And that belief that we can heal, and that this bill of goods that we've been sold, that we're dependent on the doctor or the drug or the whatever, or just the DNA, the genetics of it, that's been proven to not be the case. There are epigenetics, and there are people who have healed themselves just in prayer and meditation without any supplements. There are people who have overcome crazy things. And so that's the main thing I want to leave folks with is don't give up. You're worth it. And keep going until every, you've exhausted your resources, and then a miracle will happen. The next right thing will come into your path. And so, yeah.
Jen, would you close us out in prayer?
I would. So, dear Father God, Heavenly Father, creator of all the universe, I just want to thank you that you love so much. And we are made in your image, and we are love. And I just really pray that together, as a unified, loving creation that you have made us to be, we would work together to find solutions that are natural and righteous and good, and are based on good intention and not a twisted and contorted construct driven by greed or popularity or power or anything like that. And I'm just so incredibly grateful that you've given me this tool to help people with. It's really a vehicle and a tool to share love, and something that's worked for me. And I'm just so grateful to be able to have this tool to help others with. And I just really pray that whoever is listening would get everything that they need for their next right step in terms of reclaiming all that's been lost. And I give you all the praise and all the glory in the name of Yeshua. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jen. Listeners may not know this, but Jen and Mike are my son's godparents. And I love how much you love God. And I always love hanging out with you because, you put Jesus first, you put God first. And when you're with people, you you constantly are stepping into how Jesus would want you to be with others. We're all human, right? But you work through things in a way that is so beautifully spiritual, like with forgiveness and love. And when people offend you and when people hurt you and people go against you, I've watched you, and you'll get hurt, like all of us get hurt. And then you take that high road, and you really emulate how Jesus wants us to be. So you to me are like my mom too. Like I've always looked up to you as a guide for me, as a guide stone, like how Jen is with people, and is how Jesus wants you to be with people. And so I've seen that. You and I have been really close friends since, was it like 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. And so just watching you do not separate spiritual life from physical life. You do not separate that from mental, emotional life. It's all together. And that's what gives people fullness, right?
It does.
So thank you, Jen. You're wonderful. You're amazing. And this was awesome. This was awesome. And can't wait to have you back. Friend,
thank you so much for having me.
We'll punch your card again.
Okay. Yeah. Punch my card.
Yeah. Next time you come, I think you get a free flower power drink.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much.